Thank you, everyone. I got a group here. I want to introduce you to the upfront fantastic ladies. Upfront is a brilliant concept to help bring more diversity and accessibility to the stage. So I have the pleasure to have today with us Anna Kuru, Thais, Elizabeth, and Melais. I will let them introduce themselves very quickly, so please go ahead. Go.
Hello. My name is Marlies. I'm from Brussels, Belgium. I'm a designer.
I am Elizabeth. I am from the same agency as Marlies, Twisted Studio from Brussels, Belgium.
Hello, I'm Thais. I'm a service designer at Leverk in London.
Hi, my name is Ana Kira. I'm a service designer from Ljubljana, Slovenia.
Thank you so much for being here today. And hopefully this experience helps them to learn what it feels to be here in the stage. And hopefully we can see you in the next Service Design Conference speaking for yourselves. Thank you. So it's a really big pleasure to be here with you today. And I'm not here to lecture. I'm going to tell you a story, maybe a bit behind the stage story of what we did at KONE. And I'm presenting this story from my own personal experience, where I had the task of building the service design competence. This meant building the first service design team. This meant building the first service design projects, building the internal networks needed for those projects, and working with external partners to bring external knowledge into our organization. So just a quite quick question. I guess you already know the answer, but what is the product that has enabled cities to grow vertically? Anyone? Yes, thank you. The elevator. I think it's one of the most underestimated products in history. Imagine how cities would look without elevators. We will be looking at totally different landscapes. Also, there is one very great example to show that it's not product what it's important, what it enables. And KONE defines itself as being in the business of people flow. This means enabling people to move within the buildings. And today, KONE products move over 1 billion people per day. So what is KONE? A few facts. So KONE is an industrial manufacturer of elevators, escalators, and automatic doors. It was founded in 1810 as an engineering company, but what is more important is that they work with life cycle solutions. So that not just with the products, but how do you design the buildings? How are you going to make people flow in it? What is going to be the process during the construction process? How are you going to maintain? How are you going to modernize equipment? And this life cycle is easily 25, 30 years. So the services are a great ground to keep the business going. It is a very healthy, quite rich company with over 8 billion revenue per year, 400,000 customers and 50,000 employees spread in 80 countries. And now there is about 1.1 million elevators under KONE's maintenance. But KONE, the word KONE means machine in Finnish. And it's very descriptive of how it started over 100 years ago. They were making really great machines. Some of the biggest innovations in the industry of elevators come from KONE, like the machine room-less elevator or the ultra rope, which enables the elevator that can run over 1 kilometer. So it's changing how the cities are going to look even more in the future. But the big question is that, is a great machine all that is needed? And what do you think? No. No. And one of our customers summarized it very well. This is directly from our customer. She said, I am the customer, not the equipment. And this sounds really obvious, but it wasn't, actually. We think from the historical background that if it's an equipment that is working well during its life cycle, that it's well maintained, that it can be modernized, that is durable, that's it. But no, it's not the equipment making the choice of who is going to be the maintenance provider, it's the customer. And the customer needs more than one working machine. Because this machine, what does, is enable people to move in our customer's building. So KONE, as many companies, have this image of the strategy, a visualization. And it's very good, but it's still up there. It shows where we want to go, but it doesn't tell us how. So the key question was, how does a company translate a commerce-centered strategy into concrete solutions? And this is where service design came in. We offer a possibility of exploring a new way to do it. So this is our journey. This first image illustrates a bird's view on the evolution of service design. As many presentations have said during these last 2 days, you start small, and that's how we started, with a few crazy individuals really loving. We were a bit of insurance company salespeople trying to sell something to the organization, until finally we got a step up to have a small pilot, where we actually partnered with Helen to help us learn the way. And later on, we partnered with LibWork as well. This image, I wrote an article for Touchpoint, the in-house chapter, so you can read more about it, but it illustrates the importance of having both internal and external relationships, because you need to have the push from inside to make anything sustainable, but you also need the overview from the outside to bring something new into the company. You need to break the internal beliefs, and external companies are very good to do that. But I want the results to speak for themselves. This is the outcome of one of the projects. So that project looks quite obvious, right? We found, of course, that one of the customer needs was to know what is happening. For our customers, it was more about the how than the what. And it looks like a straightforward situation, but actually, to get there, that happened somewhere here. We went through our good path of challenges. So now that I'm looking back of the process of over 2 years, I was quite fascinated by this graph of how the challenges grew. It was not an easy path, and when you thought, okay, I have got through the difficult part, no, something happened and it got difficult again. But I want to illustrate you a bit of the questions that we faced during the process. So at the beginning, when it was my boss actually that started talking about service design, the key question was, what is service design? And actually there I used the work of Birgit Mager, Alex Nisbet, and Oliver King to illustrate it. So that was easy. This is what the top experts say. But then they asked me, so what does this mean for KONE? And then I had no clue, because we didn't know. It could be anything. And it was a response that it was not well taken, because for our business leaders, our technology leaders, they need to have some concrete information to be able to trust and to invest and do all the things necessary to build something like what we wanted to build. So we started from very small, and finally, we convinced them to give us a little bit of money to make a small pilot. And actually, when we had the pilot, when we had the first mock-up of some solution, based on what they described as one very big problem they had, then that's where they did click. I remember the meeting when one of the business top leaders, a tough one, saw the idea or the concept, and he just lifted the eyebrow a bit, and I knew that moment that we were in. That's when it got a bit easier. Then they started to say, like, hey, maybe this is something that we can use for this really big project that we have coming up. Let's try it. It seems to make sense, and it seems to fit with what we want to do. We started it, and the beginning was glorious. It seemed like, okay, now we have the red carpet and we're ready to roll. But then when we started to say, like, okay, but we need this and we need that, the most difficult thing was to get the people involved. When we were asking for time, it was very challenging to get the commitment for that. Then when we had so much data from our customers, where they saw the walls and walls full of insights, they were getting quite worried. What are we going to do with so much subjective data? And there we had to be creative and translate our insights in a format that they were comfortable with. For them, this qualitative data was not something they could trust completely. So we had to be very clever on how to communicate, translate design language into business language, and we created a fantastic Excel table for them to feel comfortable with. They were actually surprised to get to know what the customer really thinks. They have their own beliefs. I have been working here for 40 years, I know everything. So they were quite shocked when they were listening to the customer. We used videos, and that was a very powerful way of doing that. Better than a quote in a PowerPoint, to have the face of the customer, the tone of the voice, the attitude, telling what they thought about KONE made a huge difference. And then it got easy for a while. But then they, again, a bit that, okay, there's so many needs. How are we going to tackle that? How are we going to be able not to forget the great insight as we go along? So we created not only the design concepts, but roadmaps. And when we had the final presentation of the project, one of the business leaders said, hey, wait a minute, I have a problem with this. This goes beyond design. And we said, no, this is actually what design is all about. And then it got easy again. But then the implementation phase, of course, it's very complex. And that's too much for this presentation. But the message here is that it's important. We have 3 lessons to learn from this process. But before going to the lessons, I want to share with you some thoughts of the business leaders on what they think about design. We know that design is great because we're designers, but what do business people really think about it? So I have a message from 2 of our leaders.
Has brought a lot of positive understanding of real customer needs, and it has changed the way we understood what we are thinking about customer needs. We are selling better, and I think we are selling in a better quality for our customer, which is the main thing. It has changed at least a lot in the way we are doing business.
So when we started the exercise, I think we were still quite far away from really being customer-centric. It was to really stop and pause and listen, first going out, first listening, and only then starting to draw the conclusions. It works the best when you really look for deep collaboration with just about everybody. Our experience shows that it's surprisingly fast how quickly you actually start to get the results, and much more people start to believe in it and actually get excited about it.
This could be a pretty exhausting exercise when there is not strong enough pull internally to get all these started and continuously working.
Be brave. It is maybe not easy to embark on the journey, but actually if you think about it, you don't have anything to lose. Take somebody with you. Don't go alone, but take somebody like a service design agency or a group of service designers who've done it before, and sort of trust them. Let them do the way they want to do it. Learn faster from what we hear from the customers, and I would try to expose ourselves more to all the angles in the very early times.
I would say service design, if somebody from the business side wants to change something, offers a great possibility with its tools, its structure and its approach. I think there is always something which can be crystallized, can be small, can be bigger, how eager people are willing to do changes. Because change is really required in anything we do if we want to make a difference.
I think what is business as usual today? Look at the environment we are operating in. Everything is changing so fast. So I think, only thing which is usual nowadays seems to be the unusual.
So I have to say, I didn't give them a script. This is really what they believe, and this was not the case when we started the project, so I'm terribly proud of Ralph and Olli. But to summarize the presentation today, the 3 key lessons I took from KONE are: the first one is that the first customer is the organization. We tend to go too quick to talk to our customers outside, but inside the organization, we have to get through them first. And why don't we use the same methods we use to understand our customer to understand our organization? Because at the end of the day, they are just humans, and they have the same needs, the same aspirations, the fears, the pain points as everyone else. We need to demystify the people in the organization and use the design tools to get a better understanding of them so we can serve them better. The second lesson is that concrete, tangible outcomes open gates. This has been mentioned several times during these presentations, but I cannot stretch it enough. Every time we managed to get to the next stage was when we had something concrete to show, something that they could grasp, something that was in the language that the organization, the business, the technology could really understand and could really see what it meant for them. Why don't we use the same methods that we have to prototype services or products to prototype ways of communicating with other disciplines? Why don't we develop tools that are in themselves solutions for communication? And the third one is transform the business from within. We could go as designers preaching our little speech everywhere, but there is nothing more powerful than other people speaking for you. I know that if any designer would go in the organization and say what we do, it would have some certain impact. But when people like Ralph and Olli say to others what design can do for them, what can it do for the business, what can it do for the organization, you're in a completely another level. So why don't we make the business people, the technology people, design champions in the organization? So now to close up this, this is the facade of the headquarters of KONE in Helsinki, in Espoo actually, and you could see there our post-its. It was our first office, about 15 square meters, and several times we were kindly asked to not ruin the facade by the facility manager, and we refused. Now this has been spreading a bit, but I want to finalize with a quote or with an anecdote from one of the managing directors of one European country from KONE. We were heavy at work one day, people, post-its everywhere, people working on the floor, complete chaos, and he comes in really shyly and said like, "Excuse me, is this where the magic is done?" And one of my designers stood up and she said very proudly, "Yes, welcome." and that's the story of KONE. Thank you so much.